All right, thought this would be kind of fun. Let's do. You guys liked the PLL footage I did the last week, and I thought I would do it again and do something a little bit different if I can. Um, so, and if you like this, if you like what I'm about to do here tonight, or if you're watching the replay on YouTube or on Facebook or wherever, leave me a comment, would you? That you like when I do these types of videos, because whatever videos you want me to do, I will do more of, right? So, um, UMass, we had mediocre turf and food. Who is that? That's awesome. I got Greg Ramsey. There you go. When I went to go see UMass, by the way, on my recruiting trip to UMass, I actually didn't even see the coaches. Who was Coach Garber at the time, very famous coach in the world of lacrosse, and then his son came in. I went out there. It was like 98 degrees, Western Massachusetts, um, Amherst, Mass. It was like 1,000 degrees, and I got out there, and I was hot and sweaty and uncomfortable. And I had done a lot of college tours, and UMass wasn't like at the top of my list. It was Notre Dame was kind of where I wanted to go, and but then I just gave up. I gave up. I got lost. We didn't have iPhones back then. Couldn't find where I needed to go, and I just said, "Screw it, I'm out of here." And I went up to Lake Placid to go train. Um, Stephen Bryce. Oh, thank you, sir. Your advice helped with my daughter this past week with her scholarship. With her scholarship, thank you. Oh, fantastic, Stephen. Love that, man. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. That's good to hear. Really appreciate that. Garber's Gorillas. That's right, Garber's Gorillas. Those games with Sal Casio. Mike Simmons isn't on here today, but Mike Simmons was high school goalie, played with Sal Casio. Sal Casio is one of the greatest goalies to probably play this game. I believe probably if he played today, he would still kick ass. Big fan of Sal Casio and the Garbage Gorillas. And Syracuse would come, and when Syracuse scored, the UMass fans would throw oranges on the field. So it was really, really cool. Good times. Okay. But that day sucked and I didn't go. And they had a physical therapy degree that I was thinking about doing. And they were quarter school too, which would have fit with my Olympic career. All right. So we're going to, all right. 3622. Okay. So let's do this one. Um, let me just get my screen up here. And so this should be kind of fun. What I did, and like I said, I know I'm repeating myself, but if you like these videos that I'm about to do, please let me know and I'll do more of them. Okay. Because I try to pick topics every week that are kind of timely and make sense, and people are always asking me questions, and I do these. These are free. These take a lot of time, and my hope is someday I get to coach a goalie and you join Lacrosse Goalie University. But but if not, I'm happy to just kind of change the game one goalie at a time. That's the whole plan here. So these are kind of fun, and let me get the screen up here. There we go. All right, so this video came across my YouTube recommended, and it was Jeff Teets, who is a rookie this year in the PLL, and this was his highlight video, which was kind of cool. And so I'm gonna do my best here to scroll through this and see. And I apologize, it's only in no, it's HD, but it's coming through a little fuzzy for me. Um, but what I thought I would do is this is a highlight reel. He's lighting up goalies on the POL. We'll go through some of the saves or the missed saves. Okay, in my opinion, and this is so this is kind of cool. So because there's a variety of goalies. I'm not sure how many we'll get through here. It's 6:35. I'll do my best. And yeah, so for those of you guys that know me and have followed me, my take on pro lacrosse goalies is as good as they are. Okay, as good. And listen, I've been doing this for a long time. Okay, I've seen generations of lacrosse goalies. All right, so the idea is that this generation is they're not always better than the last generation. Okay, as good as they are. Okay, so and I don't mean any offense to the goalies that play, but it's the same thing that if it's the same argument like who's better? Is it Michael Jordan or LeBron James? And don't comment. That's just a waste of my time. But you get my point. But the idea here is that listen, we've got great goalies that got to the finals and they're playing the pros, but not all the best goalies are playing lacrosse right now. Some guys have careers, they have families, they move on, right? And I did a quick search. A lot of the goalie ages right now in the PLL are like 25. I would say roughly that's the average right now. But at the top of the scale, you got Brian Phipps, who's like 33. You've got, I believe, Gittleman is also 33. Bernlor might be up there. No, Bernlor's not up there, but there's other guys that are up there. There's one that was 35. I can't remember who that was, but anyway, for the most part, they're all 25 years old. Okay, so I believe we haven't seen the best goalies play this sport yet. So in this particular play right here, okay, and I believe this is Bernlor. There's a lot of things I love about Bernlor. Okay, and I think last year I called him one of my favorite goalies. Adam Gittleman is probably, I believe, is like the smartest goalie in the PLL. Okay, yeah. So Adam Gittleman is my guy, and I'll probably say that forever. And what's cool about it is that the reason why I say he's the smartest lacrosse goalie, and I want you to understand this, is that he's one of the older guys in the PLL now, right? And he's getting better. All right, he's trying stuff. He's implementing ideas that I've been talking about, and he's just seeing that stuff. And so one of the things that I see is goalies, because they're not protected, is they stand too far back in the cage. And I know that's gonna a lot of you guys are like, yeah, 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 we get it. But there's a lot of people who hear these every week who are like, what do you mean? So in this particular case, the goalie is very far back in the cage. Okay, very far back in the cage. And what I want to see, what I want to see is a goalie in this particular case coming out to about halfway. You can't. Oh, I'm writing on the wrong screen. Halfway. You see my cursor there? Right. So I would like to see a goalie in this case be at least halfway. In the men's game, I would love to see them be top of the crease and beyond. And I got to find that clip of Brett Queener, who years ago made a save, and he was literally out here. And Dylan Ward, same thing. I got to find those. But in this particular play, like Teet's gonna wind him up, right? And so he's probably, what is that? Was that like 13 yards? Right? It's a big shot, right? That's a big shot. Now I love Bernlor's stance. I believe he's got a good, solid athletic stance with which to explode from. I just believe he's an unprotected goalie, like they all are. Okay, and yeah, Joel, I see that it was Gittleman you're talking about, who wears the knee pad. Yeah, and he's messed around with shin guards and all sorts of stuff, and we'll talk about this a little bit later. All right, so but here's the shot, and that shot just lights him up upstairs. Okay, upstairs off stick high. So so what does that mean though? So first, how do you make this save? Well, one, if you're bigger in the cage and you have less distance to move, you have a better chance of making that shot, making that save. So now this is where people kind of go like, well, wait a second. If I move closer to the ball, I have less time to react to it. Yes, but we're talking about like a hundredth of a second. Like it's not a lot of time. And I believe that the advantage that comes when you play bigger in the cage, and I think next week I'm going to do a video on Scanone, who's a big dude, just so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. But in this particular play, okay, as a goalie, it's almost like you're kind of like extra ready. As a goalie, we can all test the fact, like when you're just going to get ripped on by somebody, it's like, when you get to a certain point in your career, you're like, bring it. You're like your brain. I would love to have like a neuro imaging of a goalie brain in that situation, because it's probably lit up like a freaking Christmas tree, right? And I remember those. I remember I got to this point where I got over that hump of getting a feeling like I was getting, the ball's going to hurt me. And I was like, if I got hit with the ball, I was like, yes, it was like Happy Gilmore in the batting cage, right? Getting hit with the shots to the chest, which I think a lot of lacrosse goalies could benefit from if they did that. Um, but so this shot goes off stick high. So he's low because he's like ready. It's like you're extra ready, and then here comes the rip, and that ball is going right where Bernlor probably thinks it's going, but he can't get there fast enough, right? And it lights him up off stick high. Okay. Now the other tough thing here is if you look at the shooter, and it's basically a load. I would call this a low to high shot. It's just slightly below hip level, but that still forces a goalie to respect that this shot may go low. And then what ends up happening is that the goalie, you can watch Bernlor's stick here, it drops and then it goes back up. And this is where I feel lacrosse goalies are stuck in a developmental period here, where where they it's not like really any other goalie. Well, I shouldn't say that in this case, but it's like a hockey goalie thinking that the shot's going to go 5 hole, but it may go upstairs, right? That's why hockey goalies are like 6'2" now, and when they drop to their knees, their chest protector gets caught in their pants, so the shoulder area pops up and still covers the top of the cage, right? That's an equipment development, right? That's adapted, which I love, and lacrosse goalies need more of that. So this shot, it's going probably right where he thinks it's going, but he has to respect the low shot. Now, now I believe that a well protected goalie, and that includes the knees. Okay, so I'm going to be a little bit more vocal about protecting the knees because I want the goalie to be able to basically drop and not feel like they're going to hurt their knees. And as a goalie, parents, you might not fully understand this, but like your goalie may drop to their knees in a game or scuff themselves up in a game, but they're not going to do it 1,000 times in practice because it hurts, especially if your field sucks, right? And there's um, dirt in the crease, and you're not on fresh grass, things like that. So I want to talk about that more as we go the next few weeks here. But that shot just rips him up, and he knew it, and it was a race. As a race, and now the teat walks off. He's like flexing for the crowd. He's like, "Yeah, right." And I'm like, "Muffin, come on, dude." Um, a long pole needs to come with a good slash across the shoulder pads or the lack of shoulder pads. Mary James, totally different brain for goalies makes them unique. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Mary, but I don't always believe that. I wrote about that in my book, the conversation about crazy about goalies. I don't think goalies are crazy. I think goalies are some of the most analytical people on the planet. They really are. They have to be because we take so much abuse and we feel so much responsibility for the team around us, right? No matter how good or bad they are. But I get what you're saying, Mary, 100%. Okay. So that was the first shot I wanted to talk about. So the second shot I wanted to talk about was this next one here. Again, it's also burn lore. I'll just play this through while I talk about it. Um, so one of the things that I teach goalies is this idea of efficiency, right? And one of the reasons that I teach efficiency is because when your goalie stands in the same stance all the time, when they pivot, when the ball's behind the cage and they make simple pivots, right? There's really only like three positions your goalie should be standing in, and I'll explain that kind of as we go here. But the idea is that as we get better, uh, g- there's a little bit of swagger. So I've shared this story before, so forgive me for those of you guys who are hearing it again. But in one of my first years when I went to Calgary, Alberta, Canada to do luge, okay, uh, all the teams on the World Cup, we all stayed in the same hotel. It was the Best Western Village Park Inn, and during the week, every time we came to Calgary, Gordy Shear, who's on the US team, would organize a trip to the paintball place. And we would all go and we would reenact World War II. It was a lot of fun. And yeah, the Germans and everybody got to shoot the Germans. It was a lot of fun. But there was a cartoon, a newspaper cartoon, like one of those 3 screen cartoons pasted to the counter when you paid, and it said the first slide was like beginner paintball player, and it was this dude in like shorts and a t-shirt, a mask, and a gun and extra paint. That was it. Then the next one was the novice, and the novice had everything. He had like the extra ammo. He had like camo pants. He had like a helmet, and he had like you name it. He had all this extra stuff. And then the last screen was the paintball player again with a t-shirt and shorts and the helmet and the gun and the extra bullets, and that was it. Okay. So now this is not an equipment analogy. What this is a technique analogy. It's like when you start out and you just don't know what you don't know, but then you get to a point where you're like you've got it dialed in. What I see in the pro ranks, which I don't like, is I see a level of slop. I see a level of casualness, and I see a level of not good technique, and it costs goalies, and I'm going to show you why right here. Okay, so this again is burn lore. And so, but what I want to see when this ball is coming in off the end line, I want my goalie to be basically with the scoop of the stick on the crossbar and their feet basically pointing towards the end line. So you're basically square to the end line. Okay. And then as the player comes around, what Burnlord does, which I like, so this surprised me in this clip because I didn't really notice this before about him, but he's always tapping the pipes. Like he's reaching for the pipes here, and now he's like, there's a spinning of the stick. There's a tap. Like we don't need to tap the pipes when we're looking at them. We know exactly where we are. Okay. Um, and then now this player is going to cut. Now at the pro level, this happens a lot faster than it does the high school level and junior high school and things like that. So what he does quickly, which I love, is he gets right to the post. But see how he drops the stick, and I don't wish that on any goalie, right? And I would beat the heck like any of my Lacrosse Goal University goalies. I talk about this because I'm like, I want you to be pivoting and right in position, right? You're basically pivoting on your right foot. The left foot comes right to the post, and you're in position. But he's like dropping the head of the stick and turning and I don't like that. I feel it. I feel it's inefficient, and you might say like, well, he's got plenty of time to get there before the guy comes around. I get it, but one of the things I learned when I was training for the Olympics was this idea that our eyes and our ears and our inner ear and our balance, that is our set point. Like we're always trying to make the horizon flat, and we're always working in reference to the horizon. So when you learn how to do flips and you learn how to do twists in the air and things like that, your eyes and your inner ear are giving you that signal. Now, even though we're on flat ground, I want my goalie to always be in a set position so that when we are moving to the ball, we're moving in front of that ball, we are moving from a base. And if that base is constantly changing because your stick is down here, or you're standing up, or your knees are here, or like whatever, that's all changing. And that's inefficiency to me. Okay. That doesn't make sense to me. Okay. So as he gets the pipe real quick, I love that. Right now, he's a lefty goalie on the left post. So one of the things that I believe the Lacrosse goalie of the future will do is that they will switch hands. Okay, and I won't talk about that right now, but so now I'll just play this through. But watch the goalie, lots of movement, lots of reaching for the post, and I don't understand why. Okay, let me just repeat that. I'll just play that again. Okay. Oops. Hello. Where are we here? Oh, dang it. There we go. Boom. Okay. Oh, going again. Here we go. All right. Plays coming again. So just watch the goalie. Watch the goalie here. Boom. Boom. Reaching, moving, reaching. Like now, watch the shooter. So that's a very creative play. Like, don't get me wrong. There's a feed there. There's a guy who's covered, and then he toe drags the defender, but then he basically brings the stick up while he's falling away. This is not a high velocity shot for a PLL goalie, right? This isn't like a crank, but this kind of disappointed me because what happens is as we go here, and what I want your goalie to understand is that we want to be efficient, get to the post, find our stance, boom. Right now, I like this position. This is what I tell all my goalies to do. I want you to be on a 45-degree angle from the post out. Okay, like right here. Okay, you want to be right there, 45 degrees, because now, even though like as a goalie, I got my head turned, I see the guy coming, I can still somewhat like my peripheral vision is picking up movement to my right. Okay. And that's really important to understand. Right. So as that play comes around, now there's the feed, there's the ball right in front of the ref. Okay, it's going here. Now, as a pro goalie, this is a lefty. Okay. This is a lefty, and he will always be a lefty in this case. Okay. This is a this the book on this kid is he's a lefty, he's not going right-handed. If he does, it's a surprise. Okay. So there's the feed. Now he's on a short stick. So the potential for a shot is high, very high. All right, and the defense is horrible here. But then again, there's the toe drag, right? He just toe drags underneath the midi right here. Woink, doop, right? Comes around. The slide is late. Now, this is not like you see he's crossed up like and he's got to stick his left hand. I mean, this is a hard shot, but as a goalie's not ready for this shot because he's reaching for the post. At the high school level, your goalie should know where they are in space so they don't have to be reaching for the post. This really surprised me, okay? Because he's a good goalie, right? And so here it comes. There comes the shot. And while the shot comes, he's still got his stick on the post. So there's not a lot of balance here. And now he's like not in a good position even to get his legs on things. All right. And then he's falling backwards. Like so what I would love to see here is I want a goalie to be again in a strict position, right? I want you to stay with your stance all the time, right? I believe that we're seeing here not goalies who have reached a level of creativity, but levels who are goalies who've gotten kind of somewhat sloppy in this case. Okay, with all due respect. Okay, with all due respect. Okay, um, and then um, yeah, just and how a goalie ends up after a save or a miss tells me a lot about how that goalie was standing prior to the shot. Okay, so that's that. Okay, Joel Rose writes, "No, the no stick and shoulder pads the field players aren't wearing. Too cool for school." Exactly. I think it's like a security blanket for him, almost like a nervous tick, or the kid that sucks his thumb. Yeah, no offense. We're not saying he's sucking his thumb, but I know what you're saying. Um, it is a nervous tick. Well, I don't think if you talk to him, I don't think he would say it's a nervous tick, but there's just a level of inefficiency here. Let's put it that way. There's a level of inefficiency here that if you were a professional soccer goalie or an ice hockey goalie, you would get reamed. Okay. What's interesting is in the world of baseball catching this year, a lot of discussion about sloppiness in the technique of catchers, right? Going with this one knee down technique that makes it very difficult for them to stop any sort of ball that's in the dirt. And for those of you guys that may follow baseball even just a little bit, earlier this year, there was a problem with pitchers using illegal substances in their gloves, things like um, super glue and sticky tack and rosins. So it gave them better grip on the ball so they get more spin. And then baseball said nope, and they changed all of it. And then all of a sudden you had some pitchers that still were good, but then you had other pitchers now all of a sudden that were just throwing the ball all over the place. And the catchers who were playing in that one knee down technique were getting hosed. So I use that as an example to show that even at a pro rank in like baseball, we're seeing like a trend of sloppiness there. And I think we can do better here with pro lacrosse goalies. Okay. So that's that. So yeah. Um oh I made 57, 59. My bad. 56, 59. Trying to take some notes here, my timestamps. Okay. Uh good point there, Joel. Okay, so here we go. Moving on. I think there's a couple replays here, so I'll just let this go. There you go. I don't can you guys hear that commentary? I'm not sure if you can or not. Because he does talk about quick release. This is a good one. Oh, okay, so I can't remember who this is. For those of you guys who can help me, I can't remember which goalie this is. Um, let me just back up. I'm just gonna back up here. So in this particular set, these two shots here, I believe that the goalie stance is what's so this goalie and who is this? This is the Cannons. So that's well, I can't remember who those goalies are right now. So someone's gonna have to fill me in. Um, So this is the hands very close together, wider stance, and so there's two things here that I don't like about this. One, I believe that the hands together and the elbows kind of pinched in front of the chest is really a defensive play. Okay. It's a defensive play that from a goalie that's worried about getting hit. Okay. That's worried about getting hit with the ball. That's plain and simple. Okay. And then and so that also is not a it can be a super strong position to get quick movement, but in terms of like it just can lock you up. And a goalie, what's really interesting is when a goalie is in the cage, we want to be in a relaxed stance. We don't want to be gripping the stick real tight. We don't want our lats like real tight. We don't want to be like we don't want to have muscle contraction before we actually need it. Nick Morocco, thank you. Okay, so and Nick Morocco was in the MLL last year, right? Um, so so the idea here is that when we adopt this like close hands, bottom hand over, under the top hand, the elbows are tight. We're kind of just locking ourselves up. We're not very free. So if I took a stick away from this goalie and said, "Okay, I want you to stop this ball," they would stand very differently. They would not be standing like this. Greg Ramsey, thank you, Morocco. Um, so 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 I don't like this stance. I don't think it's a good athletic stance. Again, you wouldn't see an ice hockey goalie doing this or a soccer goalie doing this, but lacrosse is kind of morphed in this, and it's being taught at a lot of camps, a lot of clinics. Can't stand it. All right, because this ball goes 5-hole, right? This ball goes 5-hole here, and the move down is with a stick is slow. But most importantly here, I want to combine. So what I think is the lacrosse goalie of the future, who has well protected knees and is comfortable with dropping, is going to follow this stick. Okay, is going to follow this shooter, see this stick release, right? Which is about hip high going low, and he's going to drop, right? He's going to drop, and he's going to be further out, going to be top like at least half again as far top of the crease, right? Or maybe the goalie doesn't drop to their knees, but they just stand and they take this with their foot, like a soccer player would receiving a really tough pass from a teammate. Okay. So these things need to be trained, and I encourage my goalies to train. But I'll be honest, a lot of my goalies they don't want to do it because their buddies aren't doing it. It drives me nuts. Okay, it drives me nuts because there's a big problem here. And on this next shot, same thing. Okay, same thing. That oh, also let me one thing here again. I said before, like I can tell a lot by a goalie by how they end up after the save. Right, the when you drive your stick down to make this save, you're driving the stick through the ground because if you don't, there's a deceleration phase, right? So if you're not willing to basically mush your stick down, see how that stick is still round? It's still a full shape of a goalie head. What happens here is that he's moved his stick in a way where that stick has then had to decelerate, and maybe the ball hit the stick. I'm like, can I do this? Hold on. Any of you guys know Nick Morocco? You can ask him. I don't think so. Maybe. Maybe it did. Okay. But still, so even more to this argument, you've got to drive that stick all the way down, and that stick is gonna mush into the ground. Like you may snap ahead. Warning to everybody, your goalie may snap ahead. Okay, so don't cringe at your goalie that they snap their head in cold weather because they try to make a save like that. But that's what needs to happen here because if you don't, then you've actually slowed yourself down here, and that's probably cost him this save. Now we've seen this before. I've talked about this before. Like some goalie heads are so sloppy, and especially in hot weather, they get so flexy. I don't think they're very. I think our stick heads need to change. I think our stick heads need to be less about weight and more about stability. And Jonathan Redfern can speak to that someday. But, uh, but you know, the idea is not to have some cool looking head, but one that can withstand a shot from, 80, 90 miles an hour or more. Okay. So that when you get the plastic on it, you're still going to make the save. Right. Okay. We'll do one more and then I got to run. I got a goalie audit here to do. This is the same type of situation. Right. So what I don't like here, okay, if I'm a goalie if I'm a goalie and I'm on my near side pipe, so if I'm a lefty goalie on my left post or a righty goalie on my right post, you got to be really careful about how far you hang the head of the stick outside the post, because what we're basically doing here is we're making a stance compromise. All right. I just don't believe lacrosse goalies are good enough to waste anything outside the pipes. Now, when we have tight angle shots like this, it's a little bit more difficult, but what we want to do is we want to bring as much of that stick head in to um, inside the 6x6, which really at this angle is not 6x6 anymore. But the idea is we are going to bring that stick in to then allow our brain to process like where the ball could go, right? So most likely 5-hole here. And because the stick head is so far outside, we're wasting probably, what is that? Like at least 6 inches, maybe more. Okay. And every inch matters. So um, guy swims the midi, right? Ball side left, guy swims the midi. Now I don't like this either. I want this long pole. I would like him tighter if we can. But I know this gets really tricky, especially at the pro level. So I'm not going to pick on that too much, right? But then, so he swims the midi, right? Goes underneath. Midi totally botches that. He comes in. Now, as a goalie, I know that there's very little angle here. Most likely, this shot is going 5-hole. So I got to be ready. So what am I going to do? I'm going to bring that stick head closer to the middle of the cage so that I can get every inch possible, right? And then the other argument here is a goalie could switch hands here, in my opinion, especially at these angles. Okay. All right. There goes the ball. So this is a quick move, right? He comes around his guy, puts in his left hand, boom. And as a goalie, you just got to get down, right? Just got to get down. And that ball goes far side, right inside the post. Can you see that? And so one thing too, as a goalie, in terms of wide stance, if I'm going to modify my stance here enough where I know that my right foot is just inside the right post and my left foot is obviously going to be inside the post. And when I see that ball leave the stick, I'm just dropping. I'm just dropping everything. I'm dropping both testicles. I'm dropping, my butt. And I've got extra large shorts on to catch any sort of bounce, that can catch it. I'm not wearing booty shorts. Not that the boys are wearing booty shorts, but you know what I'm talking about. Okay. Because, this is, the goalie doesn't even move his feet here. Right. So what I would argue for, I believe the lacrosse goalie future would be right-handed, right? They're going to be right-handed on this play, and they're going to know that the majority, the most chance for the shot is going to go 5-hole. Okay. Far side means left-handed would have given him a better shot at it. No, right-handed. So he's a lefty here. So far side post. Sorry, far side post. So yeah, offhanded. So yes, if he had the stick in his right hand, okay, so that's I do believe a goalie who grows up training that will have a better advantage. Because if I take, like, this is the test. If you take the stick out of a goalie's hand, in this case, like same play, take the stick away from the goalie, how would they move? Like, do you think your goalie's going to stand like this with his left hand, right? No, he's going to go like, okay, wait, well, maybe he would, but he'd also bring his right hand over here to go like, okay, I know this ball's going to go over here somewhere, right? So he'd be leaning. So I would, if I'm going to leave my stick in my left hand here, I'm going to lean a little bit. I'm going to lean myself away from that post, bring the stick head inside, and I'm processing what are the odds here, right? Where's this ball probably going to go? It's probably going to go between my legs, okay? Now he sneaks this outside the far foot, but if I might widen my stance just a little bit because I know I'm going low, and at the second I see that ball go low, that stick release low, I'm just dropping. I'm saving the space. That's what I call it. I save the space, not the ball, right? And when you do that, good things will happen. Okay, so yeah. So listen, I'm gonna wrap it there. Because I got a goalie. I've got a goalie waiting for me on a Zoom call right now. So, um, if you liked this, leave me a comment and I'll do more of it. If you have a clip you want me to talk about, leave me the clip and I'll do that. Um, and I offered to do this a while ago, and people didn't really take me up on it. I'm doing them for their goalies. That's fine. So we'll do it for this. That's cool. So if you like that, let me know. Or you can email me, coach@lacrossegoalietips.com. I'm happy to do that. So wherever you're watching me, okay, if you're watching the replay, on YouTube, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you're listening to me on the podcast, if you're on Apple Podcasts, do me a favor. Yeah, no one's ever really left me a review there. I don't really ask for them, but I know it's kind of cumbersome. But if you can, that'd be great. Bob McGee, the goalie videos reviews are good. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. But wherever you are, do me a favor, leave a comment, leave a like. Don't just lurk, because if you lurk and you're taking free information from me and you lurk, you're really not helping me out at all. So, and share this with somebody, okay? And I'll give the disclaimer here. I'm not picking on anybody personally. I'm just using these as examples because I think we can do better. Okay, I think we can. Not just I think, I know we can do better. Okay, so and most importantly, a lot of you guys have young goalies and they're watching these things, going, "Wow, I just love that goalie." I'm like, okay, you can love them, but I want you to be better than that goalie when you're that age. Okay, and that's really important. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching and thanks for listening wherever you are. Do me a favor, hit the like button if you like this, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. When you're ready, head on over to lacrossegoalieuniversity.com/coaching so I can work with you and your goalie. And while you're at it, check out athletespecific.com to learn more about mental performance and high performance. You may not know this, but I work with athletes in a variety of sports. Lacrosse is my love, but man, I love athletes and the families who support them. So head on over to athletespecific.com, check it out. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.